Greetings, people of Earth. My name is the Dalek Supreme, and yesterday marked the 75 years of D-Day. If you don't know what D-Day is, well, during the years of World War II, the Battle of Normandy lasted from June 1944 to August 1944, resulting in liberating Western Europe from the Nazis. The code name for this operation was called Overlord. The battle had begun on June 6, 1944, also known as D-Day, when some 156,000 American, British and Canadian forces landed 5 beaches along a stretch of heavy fortified coast of France's Normandy region. The invasion was one of the largest ambitious military assaults in history. The extensive planning prior to D-Day. The Allies conducted a large-scale deception campaign designed to mislead Germans about the intent of invasion target. By late August 1944, all of northern France had been liberated. By the following spring, the Allies had defeated the Germans. The Normandy landings have been called the beginning of the end of war in Europe. Preparing for D-Day. As the war had begun, Germany invaded and occupied northwestern France. Beginning in 1940, the Americans entered the war in December 1941, and by 1942, and the British, who had been evacuated the beaches of Dunkirk in 1944 after being cut by the Germans in the Battle of France, were considering the possibility of a major Allied invasion across the English Channel. The following year, the Allied plans for a cross-channel invasion began to ramp up. In 1943, Hitler, who was aware of the threat of invasion along France's northern coast, put Erwin Rommel in charge of spearheading defense operations in the region. Even though the Germans did not know exactly where the Allies would strike, Hitler charged Rommel with finishing the Atlantic Wall, 2,400-mile fortification of bunkers, landmines, and the beach and water obstacles. In January 1944, General Eisenhower was appointed the commander of Operation Overlord. In the months and weeks before D-Day carried out of a massive deception operation intent to make Germans think the main invasion was Pas de Calais, rather than the Normandy. In addition, they led the Germans to believe that Normandy and other locations were also potential invasion targets. Many tactics were used to carry out the deception, including fake equipment, phantom army, a phantom army commanded by General Patton, supposedly based in England, across from Pas de Calais. Double agents and fraudulent radio transmissions. Eisenhower selected as the date for invasion. However, bad weather on the days leading up to the operation caused it to delay for 4 hours on the morning of June, after his meteorologists pre-directed improvement conditions for the following day. Eisenhower gave the go-ahead for Operation Overlord. He told the troops, "You are to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you." Later that day, 5,000 ships and landing crafts and carrying troops, ships and landing craft carrying troops and supplies left England to trip across the Channel to France, while more than 11,000 aircrafts were mobilized to provide air cover and support for invasion. When the U.S. forces arrived at Omaha Beach, there were over 2,000 American casualties. However, by day's end, approximately 156,000 Allied troops were successfully stormed Normandy's beaches. According to some estimates, more than 4,000 Allied troops lost their lives in that invasion. Thousands wounded or missing. Less than weeks later, on the 11th of June, the beaches were fully secured. Over 326,000 troops, more than 50,000 vehicles, and some 100,000 tons of equipment had landed at Normandy. I want you guys to take a minute's silence for these brave people who have lost their lives in this war. In ensuring the weeks, the Allies fought their way across the Normandy countryside. In the face of determined German resistance, as well as dense landscape of marshes, hedgerow by the end of June, the Allies had seized the vital port, Cherbourg, and approximately 850,000 men and 150,000 vehicles in Normandy were poised to continue their march across France. By the end of August 1944, the Allies reached the Seine River. Paris was liberated. The Germans had been removed from northern western France, effectively concluding the Battle of Normandy. The Allied forces then prepared to enter Germany, where they would meet up with the Soviet troops moving in the east. Normandy began to turn the tide against the Nazis. Significant physiological blow also prevented Hitler from sending troops from France to build up his eastern front against advancing Soviets. The following spring of May 8, 1945, the Allies formally accepted the unconditional surrender of Nazi Germany. Hitler committed suicide a week earlier. That man was evil. If you can think back to all those things he did, that just makes you hate him even more, because he has committed mass genocide, and that is inhuman. there are some quotes from many other soldiers, from many other key players in D-Day. One person said that the day is committed to error and foundering. Success and achievement are matters of long range. Another person said, when I stand before thee at the day's end, thou shalt see my scars. Know that I had my wounds, and also my healing. The day before the anniversary of D-Day, we lost a man who was equalled by few and surpassed by none as a leader in the cause of freedom, Ronald Reagan. Now I can see why. Do you see now? Do you see why Winston Churchill said this was our finest hour? Well, he was not wrong. Because when they liberated Paris, on that day, on this particular day, in 1944, on this day, June 6th, 1944, it really was their finest hour.